When I was 25, I finally took the leap and purchased my first home. It was an old Victorian house nestled on the outskirts of a quiet town in Maine. The price was a steal, considering its size and architectural beauty. However, it had been on the market for years, and locals seemed reluctant to discuss the property. The house, with its tall windows and worn brick facade, had an undeniable charm. But from the first night, something felt off. Every creak of the wooden floors, every gust of wind against the panes, it all felt like the house was trying to communicate. One evening, while moving some old cabinets in the kitchen, I discovered a small wooden door. It was peculiar in its placement, hidden away as it was. Intrigued, I pulled at the rusted handle, revealing a narrow staircase that led downward, presumably to the basement. What struck me was that the house listing never mentioned a basement. My curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to venture down. The stairs were steep, and the air grew colder with every step. I should have taken that as a sign to turn back. The basement was expansive, much larger than I expected. Old furniture covered in dusty sheets and stacks of decaying books and antique trunks filled the space. But what caught my attention was the far end of the room. In the dim light of my flashlight, I noticed freshly dug earth. Compelled to investigate, I approached the site and began to clear away the dirt. A few inches down, my hand brushed against something solid. As I dug further, a sense of dread washed over me. Before long, I unearthed a human bone, and then another, and another. Panicking, I called the police. The subsequent investigation unveiled entire skeletal remains, meticulously buried in the basement. Now, the local forensic team estimated that the bones had been there for at least 3 decades. The town was abuzz with the grim discovery. It was then that an elderly neighbor, Mrs. Gallagher, approached me with a story. The house, she revealed, once belonged to a reclusive man named Albert. He was rarely seen and never mingled with the townsfolk. However, he often had guests, strangers who would arrive but were never seen leaving. The townspeople had their suspicions, but in such a tight-knit community, no one wanted to believe something sinister could happen. One winter, Albert disappeared. And no one knew where he went, and no one really cared to find out. The house was abandoned, its dark history fading into town legend. The bones, the police concluded, were likely one of Albert's unsuspecting guests. Unable to identify them, the remains were given a proper burial, and the case went cold. Overwhelmed by the revelations and the grim atmosphere of the house, I decided to move out. As I packed my things, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of being unwanted in that space. The house is back on the market now, waiting for its next owner. And as much as I want to forget, I'm haunted by the memories of the cold, expansive basement, the freshly dug earth, and the secrets it held.